Welcome back to the Dirty South podcast because everybody thinks they know sports, but nobody knows sports like the South. I'm your host, Cam.
I'm your other host, Koa.
And cue that intro. It's the Dirty South podcast.
It's a man's game tonight now, you know that.
Hey, three.
So getting right back into it, preseason is in full effect, but everyone plays a little bit of fantasy football. So we're going to help you guys out, maybe scheme a little bit, and you guys also may get a chance to join a little fantasy football league with us and see who wins. Y'all do have a little bit of a cheat code because we're kind of giving you a little bit of the answers right here. But Koa, we're going to start with quarterbacks. Who are your three must-have quarterbacks in fantasy football?
Okay, I'll say like my one, like de facto, like one guy that you should. I do think that Kellen Moore coming into Justin Herbert's life is going to introduce a little bit. Like, I think we're going to see a different level of Justin Herbert. You still know that he has one of the best fantasy running backs, Austin Eckler, and then you have, of course, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Of course, they have injury issues. But they got Quentin Johnson, so they have some weapons over there. I do think that Justin Herbert this year, if you find him, maybe in the fifth, sixth round, very high upside for him for an elite borderline quarterback. And then
you think Justin Herbert is going to go all the way to the fifth or sixth round?
Okay, maybe fourth. Maybe fourth. I mean, people sleep on quarterbacks, man. But
They do, and I'm actually gonna go second, so we'll go back and forth here. We'll go back and forth. Okay. So your first quarterback is Herbert. That's your must-have pick. So my must-have pick. It's so crazy. None of us picked Patrick Mahomes, and I felt like that was gonna be like the must-have for everybody. But to me, it's Lamar Jackson, and here's why. I think it's the complete revenge season for Lamar Jackson. He finally has a stable offense, but the offense honestly always is going to run through him because he's one of the most talented guys the NFL has seen. You got Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers on the other side. And I like Todd Monken running this offense too. So it has a little bit more structure, uses a lot of the tight ends. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lamar Jackson's throwing stats get a little bit better and he wins MVP. He's my pick to win MVP. I think he'll be really dominant. We don't know when Joe Burrow's coming back. So I feel like he'll have a really good chance to run that division. And I think this will be probably one of his best seasons. So it's not honestly a sleeper pick. He should go high. But if you can pick first, pick Lamar Jackson.
First pick? Interesting. My second quarterback is kind of a low risk, high reward, but Geno Smith. I do think that Geno Smith.
You don't mind too.
Now this guy may be like a sixth, seventh round pick, but very great value. I do think that the weapons that we saw the Seattle Seahawks add with already having DK and Tyler Lockett, that's already a top 5 receiver duo right there. You have Noah Fant, who had a pretty decent season. You have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and you even got boy from the Bulldogs 6th round, Kenny McIntosh. Yeah, you got some pieces on that offense that if Geno Smith can just prove to us that it wasn't a fluke, we can see some really nice numbers from Geno Smith. And we already know that division's basically only one other team is in the way, and that's San Francisco. So pretty wide open division. Geno Smith, he actually had 74.7% of his passes were deemed catchable, which was 3rd in the league. So,
not to mention he finished 4th in passing touchdowns, only behind Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow throwing 30 touchdowns. So I mean, honestly, he had an extremely underrated season. He was the 4th rated quarterback. He threw in touchdowns, but didn't finish in that top 10 of quarterbacks. So I mean, he's a very underrated pick, like you said. But I mean, he could be very valuable, especially with Tyler Lockett back there, who is the best receiver on that team. That I'll say, yeah. And, I think his second year with Pete Carroll should be interesting. A lot of people are going to say maybe last year was a fluke. But, I mean, Pete Carroll has kind of been the quarterback whisperer over the time. So I think Geno Smith will honestly continue. And if that's a sleeper pick, I'm picking Geno as well. I'll go third. I think the third's obvious. If you can get Patrick Mahomes, get Patrick Mahomes. Literally, when you think about a quarterback who may start off slow, which is one of my only things about Kansas City Chiefs, they do start off really slow, especially Mahomes sometimes. But when he gets going, I mean, you see he led the league in touchdowns. He basically makes every throw possible. If you can't get Patrick Mahomes, which is, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a top 5 pick, you go get Patrick Mahomes as well.
Quarterbacks? You take quarterbacks in the first round? That should be your running backs and your receivers. You should get your quarterbacks after. It's not like the
That's
real
just
NFL
me.
draft.
That's just me. I gotta get my quarterback to set my foundation.
I mean, I guess. My third is actually kind of your new guy, but you know I've been had this guy, Danny Dimes. I do think also same tier with like Geno Smith. You could find him kind of in the later rounds, but it's not just it's not really the arm. It's also it's both. He's honestly a dual threat. He had over 700 yards rushing last year, and you add Darren Waller and Jalen Hyatt already to a team that has Saquon Barkley now. I mean, that's not a question mark anymore. So we all know that offense goes as Saquon goes, and I think that Daniel Jones, building on from last year, proving the doubters wrong, I think that we can see some steady improvements from Daniel Jones next year. So if you see him, pick him up. Dual threats are the move for fantasy football. Get them points, man.
Dual threats are just the move, period, as the NFL is kind of transformed into what it is. My only question about Daniel Jones is, will it be so much of Saquon? Like last year, Saquon Barkley was majority of that offense. Is he going to be handing it off to Saquon so often that maybe his stats are kind of underwhelming? Because one of the quarterbacks that kind of mirrors that style but is better than Daniel Jones, I think, is Jalen Hurts. But none of us said Jalen Hurts because we know how run heavy the Eagles can get. And as good as Jalen Hurts was, he didn't throw that many touchdowns. So, I mean, you kind of have to think of scheme as well.
They only have 15 touchdowns. No, but one sleeper quarterback I did want to say was the number 4 overall pick, Anthony Richardson. If he starts week 1,
we're gonna have to have an episode about Anthony Richardson because I don't believe in Anthony. He only had 12 starts in college, and I don't think I don't know if he'll start for the Indianapolis Colts this season, probably because they're trying to reserve him because the offensive line, they're kind of weird, and no Jonathan Taylor this year. So he's going to have a lot of room to make mistakes. He's going to have to throw the ball a whole lot, and I'm not sure he could really do that because I didn't really see that when he played at foot.
He uses his leg. I mean, he
uses his legs, sure. A lot of quarterbacks can use their legs, though. That doesn't make you good.
I mean, true. I mean, I guess I'll just say that it would all be predicated if Jonathan Taylor was on the field. If he's not on the field, then hell, there's no way. There's no way.
I don't know, man. So that's going to be interesting. So switching over, we're going to our pass catchers. So I'm guessing this is Koa's first round because he knocked me for picking a quarterback in the first round. So pass catchers. If I got to have one, believe it or not, it's Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is always open regardless of the coverage, regardless of what happens, and he's Patrick Mahomes' favorite receiver. So he's kind of the safety blanket. He doesn't get hurt often, and he averages 12.2 yards per catch. So this is a guy who's going to catch the ball, have yak yards, and he's going to be on intermediate routes. He's kind of just the safety blanket, and that's a pick that can rattle up a couple of times once he gets going.
Honestly, I don't disagree. When you said that we're going to do the receiving, which included receivers and tight ends, I'm not going to lie. Last year, Travis Kelce saved me. He saved my season. So Travis Kelce is definitely a must pick up. But for my pick, I was going to go off to his teammate. I do expect this to be the year of Kadarius Toney. I do think Kadarius Toney, if he stays healthy, another year in this offense with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, of course. And, of course, all the attention that Travis Kelce is going to garnish. If there's one receiver on that team that I think that will break out, I do believe that Kadarius Toney is a sleeper pick. So if you guys do,
you don't think it's Sky Moore on the other side?
Nah, I think it's Kadarius. But it depends. It depends on his health though, because that's been his issue. But I mean, Kadarius Toney's only been targeted on 17.3% of all NFL snaps. But we saw in the playoffs how just all it took was a few plays in the game where Kadarius got the ball and he made some game-changing plays like the punt return. That's what he did. So there's a lot of I do expect this year to be the year of Kadarius Toney. Sure.
My second pick, especially at that pass catcher's position, is going to be Jalen Waddle. A lot of eyes are going to be looking at Tyreek Hill because I mean he's Tyreek Hill. You really can't press it. You can't do anything about it. But you can't play double. You can't double two receivers at one time. And so once you know that, you'll see that Jalen Waddle is open a lot of the times. And Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill combined for 287 targets last year, meaning that Tua is almost exclusively throwing those two people the ball. And defenses know that and obviously can't stop it because Jalen Waddle averaged 18 yards per catch last season.
That's crazy.
And I mean, he gets going. So, I mean, especially on those screen passes that they love to run, Jalen Waddle is all over the place. As you see, he kind of lines up everywhere. So, I think Jalen Waddle, especially once he gets going, is going to be a yak yard machine. And being on the other side, Tyreek Hill is always going to help you.
Don't disagree there. I don't disagree. 18 yards is crazy. I did not know that. Did that not lead the league?
It might have been up there. I can check for you real fast once you go. Who was yours?
My number 2 was a fellow receiver in that same state of Florida. It's going to be Calvin Ridley. I do think a
lot of Falcons fans gonna feel iffy about that one because they didn't like him when he was there in Atlanta.
I did not. He's still he is a false number 1. If like Monday night, Jair Alexander, 0 catches, 0 yards. I'll never forget that moment ever in my life as a Falcons fan. But with Trevor Lawrence in an offense with Christian Kirk, which say what you want, he got overpaid, but he's still better than average. And you have Evan Ingram, who did break out this past season. I think that he's the de facto number 1 receiver on that team. And I do believe that Trevor Lawrence and him can be a low-key dynamic duo in the league. His route running, his change of speed is still, I won't say second to none. It's still very, like his route running is top 5, I do believe. And I think that Calvin Ridley is going to have something to prove this year. And I think people may have forgotten him. So if you see him kind of slipping a little bit, go ahead and pick him up. I mean, I think that Calvin Ridley is going to have a bounce-back season.
I don't hate that. My third pick is a guy who's always kind of in the mix. I'm not necessarily too big of a fan of his quarterback after some of the interceptions he threw, but Stephon Diggs is always going to be someone that you can kind of lean on a lot, especially in the pass game. Because, I mean, one-on-one, really no one can guard him. And when you look at the Buffalo Bills, there aren't really a lot of big name receivers on that team or receivers getting as much separation as Stephon Diggs. And you can obviously, if you've watched them for the past 3 years, you can tell that Josh Allen obviously has a favorite. I mean, it's almost like Diggs is down there somewhere and he's always going to give him a one-on-one catch. Diggs is a top, I would argue, he's either top 3 or top 5 receiver in the game personally to me. I think you can get a little edgy. I would say he's better than a lot of other receivers, especially because, I mean, the separation, the route running, I would pick Diggs if you could.
Top 3 stretch, top 5. Okay, maybe.
Name 3 better than him.
JJ. Devontae.
Devontae was okay.
Devontae's better, bro.
He was okay. Stop. I mean, he's going to disappear out. Who's throwing him the ball this year?
Jimmy G.
All right, we'll see. We'll see if we remember his name by the end of the season.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you,
I don't think it'll be alive. I'm not even finished the list because if you're saying Devontae, then we just can't have a combo, bro.
Who is your third receiver or pass catcher?
My third, it's a low-key pick. I was deciding between Jameson Williams, but that's more of like a underrated, like low risk, high reward. But I'm going with Jahan Dotson. I think that his rookie season was honestly the whole rookie class of receivers last year was a really good one. Jahan Dotson had 7 touchdowns over 12 games, and actually over the last 5 games he had 3 touchdowns. So this is going to be a new offense with a new OC and Eric Bieniemy, which they already try to slander the man. And the preseason hasn't even started, which is actually
they over
insane.
there being soft. They over there being soft, talking about he coached them too hard, but they never won. It's honestly pretty laughable. And I know we only said 3, but if I could have one more, you can name one more if you want to. Darren Waller is going to be extremely interesting for the New York Giants because he's a guy who literally lines up everywhere. So he's a mismatch waiting to happen because I don't believe sometimes safeties are too small to guard Darren Waller, and sometimes linebackers aren't fast enough to guard Darren Waller. So especially if he's looking for that safety blanket over there because Kenny Golladay has disappeared from the face of the earth. There is gonna
man
be
got
somebody
paid and left, bro. Man got paid and never showed up.
Pretty much disappeared. Did you have one more?
No, we can end it on that.
We ended on that. All right.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna switch it over to running backs, and it's so funny that the Lions are getting so much love from our list because I have a Lion as one of the first running backs I would pick. Jahmyr Gibbs has the potential to be extremely explosive. They picked him really high. He didn't run through the tackles the best at Alabama, but he was an explosion waiting to happen every time he touched the ball, especially on the outside. And he is the Alvin Kamara prototype at running back. You could honestly say he plays receiver. I was looking at one clip of him in training camp. I think it was yesterday. It was that linebacker looked lost. That linebacker looked real lost. The linebacker looked real lost trying to guard him, and especially with a quarterback like Jared Goff, who's not necessarily going to thread the needle all the time, having a guy who's just an explosion on the outside, you can throw it to him on a flat, and maybe he'll make something of it. That's exactly what Jahmyr Gibbs is, and he has the ability to break out. So I think he's everything people want in a new age running back. So if Jahmyr Gibbs is up there, I would take him.
And just like how you went with a rookie running back, I have to support my rookie running back. And honestly, now this is your bona fide, like, if you got a round one pick and you got the first, second, third, fourth, you got to get Bijan Robinson. This is the definition of a do-it-all, best prospect since Saquon Barkley. What the Falcons are going to try to do in this offense, they're going to line him up everywhere. I've seen training camp clips of Bijan Robinson against Mike Hughes, who's a cornerback, and he's breaking him down, out route, snag. This man making Troy Anderson looking lost, making Caden Ellis looking lost. I mean, granted, it's this linebackers. You probably never even heard of them, but still, he's running routes like a receiver. So he's gonna get touches. He's gonna get in the end zone. Whether it's him getting handoffs, whether it's him getting jet sweeps, whether it's him lining out in the slot, Bijan Robinson is going to be the Falcons' offense. So definitely pick him up with your pick ASAP.
I think Bijan Robinson, when it's all said and done, will probably be the second best player in that draft, just from potential wise. I think the Falcons definitely made the right move on picking him, and I'm honestly interested of what he'll look like on the outside because he didn't really do that a lot in college. I mean, Texas kind of leaned on him a whole lot to kind of do just a little bit of everything, especially run the ball. But it'll be interesting seeing him out there in the flats versus other cornerbacks and things like that. So I don't hate that pick at all either. My second pick is Christian McCaffrey. Yes, Christian McCaffrey can be on and off with the injury bug a little bit, but this is an absolute freak athlete. This is someone who plays in an offense where it's literally predicated on how many different ways can we run the ball and how many ways can we get to Christian McCaffrey. This is a guy who completely changed the 49ers' fate once he got traded to him, and they looked like a contender when he was on there. This is also a guy who ran for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and passed for a touchdown all in one game. So this is someone who has the ability to get really crazy. And like I said, when I was talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, prototype running back, because he can be put in other places. He might be lined up in the slot one time. He could be in the backfield. He could be throwing the ball. You don't know what Christian McCaffrey is going to do. So Christian McCaffrey, if he's there, that's a person you have to pick.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Shanahan's going to make sure that he gets the rock in very creative ways and very simple, easy ways. And there's a lot of weapons on San Francisco, so Christian McCaffrey is definitely a must pick up for sure. We agree there. Mine is kind of a sleeper pick, and it's really just going to be predicated on if he can stay healthy, because that's been his MO his whole career, and that's Rashad Penny. I believe that Rashad Penny in Philly, with, like you made the point before, the reason why the running back position has been quote-unquote like dying is because the RPO. It's because of these mobile quarterbacks, and that split second that the defense has to think about something. Running back's already gone. Rashad Penny, if you look at it, he's been one of the most efficient running backs. He's averaged in 2021 6.3 yards per carry, 2022 6.1 carries, and that's on a total of 176 carries. So it's not like he's just getting a little bit amount. Like, it's a pretty large sample size. This man almost has 200 carries and he's averaging over 6 yards. The only issue with him is just the injury bug. He just can't stay on the field. But Philly, behind that dominant O-line, on that really talented offense, one of the most talented offenses in the league, even though DeAndre Swift is there, I think Rashad Penny could be that primary back for them, and DeAndre Swift be kind of that Alvin Kamara-ish, Jahmyr Gibbs-ish, pass-catching type of running back. So if he can stay healthy, I do think Rashad Penny, when it comes down to later rounds, don't sleep, pick him up.
And honestly, it's so crazy that you pick Rashad Penny, because I honestly thought DeAndre Swift was the guy going in here. Because again, he plays that role, especially in an offense where it's so RPO heavy, and you have to account for Jalen Hurts. There are going to be a lot of defensive ends kind of sitting there waiting to see what happens, and I think he'll definitely take advantage of that. His numbers went down last year because honestly, Jared Goff got a little bit better at throwing the ball. That's honestly what happened. And you look at the Eagles, they're very run heavy, run based. I think once they get him out there in the flats, kind of what you said about Rashad Penny, I think DeAndre Swift kind of fits that mold a little bit better because how fast he is. So once you get him out there, I feel like he's a person who can make dynamic plays. So I would pick DeAndre Swift. Although, that goes against your Rashad Penny pick.
Interesting. I mean, we'll see by the end of the season how it goes, because I wouldn't be surprised if Swift
kind of takes over as that starting role, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But my third pick, I'm like stuck in between two of them. But I'm gonna go with James Cook out of Buffalo, though. I think James Cook. Nah. Edit that out. Nah, I'm not going James Cook. I'm gonna go Devon. Is it a chain or a cane? Do you know?
Devon A-Chain.
Okay, Devon A-Chain, running back out of Miami. One thing about Miami, they have speed on offense. That is their MO. So
it's really a track meet out there. It's so many fast people. It's so many fast people on that team.
Like they still have Raheem Mostert in the backfield, but the reason why I went with Devon over James is I think Devon has a higher chance of getting on the field, because Raheem Mostert, even though I used to be a fan of him, well I still am, but it's just age is kind of getting up to him. He hasn't been able to stay on the field, and Jeff Wilson is okay, but he's also injury prone as well. I do think that the opportunities for him is wide open, and he's one of the fastest running backs in the league already. And when he gets on the field, I could definitely see him taking advantage of an open field, like spacing. I think that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will open them on the field alone is going to open up a lot for already fast teams. So I think that if you really just want to take a chance on a true low risk late running back pick, he may be your Tyler Algier from last year. So
yeah, that's not a bad pick at all. And so, yeah, that's honestly our go-to fantasy pick. We honestly might make a fantasy league. If you want us to make that fantasy league, definitely comment down below. And that's going to wrap up our episode. Do you have anything to say?
Definitely, let's make that fantasy league, y'all. Y'all let us know in the comments, bruh. Let us know whether you want ESPN or whatever fantasy y'all use, bro. Let us know. And if you're trying to buy in, let's make it happen. Make it a little interesting.
Definitely put some money down. We ready for it. And honestly, this channel is down for anything. Madden is about to come out as well. If you would like to see a little bit of that, if you would like to see me beat Madden, Koa in Madden. That's
never. It would never happen.
That would be something that can be seen. If y'all want us to do that, with pleasure. You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna end up our episode. Dirty South out.